Audiobook Spring. Listen to relaxing novel. Thank you for following and not crossing advertisements. Female doctor and journeys through time. Time to become a princess. Chapter 61. Fermenting magical wine 2. Master, hurry back. Hurry back and take me. Lines and walk towards Qingju with a smile. Little snake, I know that you think of me. You don't have to do that. Look, I've come to you. Hey. However, the girl's eyes were filled with a smile. But when it enters into Qingju's eyes instead, it felt like she was looking at a hot dish. It was that time. Lin Sin's stomach groaned. Without twisting her stomach, she rubbed her hand and sighed. This past year I ate a lot, but I suddenly stopped eating meat and verteles. Now I feel hungry. Qingju shrieked. Then hurriedly crawled up the tree, hiding itself in the dense thickets. Tremble, as expected, this woman is hungry. So she came to find it, thinking that she would catch it and eat it. Lin Sin was confused. Just a moment ago, she was so soft and friendly. Hey, why did Qingju see her? As if he saw a man-eating devil. Is she really that scary? Qingju, come down, let's talk. Fengru King Pod frowned. Eyebrow, Qingju's voice trembled. No, I'm not going down. If you're serious, come up. Lin Sin looked at her plump body and looked to the towering tree. Mischievous lady, you come down. No, I won't go down. Even if I die, I won't go down from this tree. It died on this tree. Better than going down to meet such a terrible human. Lin Sin smiled. I brought snacks for you. No. Green Snake categorically refused. I would rather die in this tree. There's no way to go down because of a little snack. The princess is heartbroken, or Fengru King Yu's eyes twitch. Guo Su will come back. I will tell him that you bullied me. Qingju was stunned. This human. How shameless could it be? It must have turned into a braised snake. Why are you like this? Qingju cried with repression. This wicked person was too bullied. Come down. Lin Sin repeated it again. Qingju looked at Lin Sin. His heart was filled with feelings of fear, and in the end, it gradually began to grow. Slithering down from the tree appeared in front of Lin Sin. Stewed snakes aren't tasty, really, plus I'm poisonous. Qingju did not dare to get too close to Lin Sin. But it felt that it was not safe enough, so he added another sentence. Lin Sin smiled wickedly. It's okay, I have a way to get rid of the poison, so that I could bring it to my father's care. Qingju was so shocked that his heart almost stopped beating. Hey, this human really wants to eat it. I'm old, tough, hard to digest, not good. It's all right, my father's teeth are strong. Chewing comfortably. Qingju was silent for a moment before asking with expression on his face. Sad princess, what exactly do you want? You say it straight. Well, after all, I'm Guosi's pet. You should show some respect to your owner if you eat me. How are you going to sleep with Guosai? Su, it was as if I didn't make a stewed snake, then you can't sleep with Guo. Qingju nodded vigorously. Right, if you have me, you must. I'm sure you slept with my master. So let a little guy like me be useful. If you eat me, who will help you? Chapter 62. Iron Blood Armies Will 1. Lin Sin rubbed his chin lightly. She felt that Qingju's words were reasonable. Then I can't eat braised snakes. She took out the Tianlingguo fruit. Arrived and sent to Qingju. Do you want to eat fruit? Qingju's eyes were filled with suspicion. He looked at the fruit handed over by Lin Sin, but didn't snap. Was this dangerous person coated with poison on the Tianlingguo fruit? Lin Sin glanced at Qingju's thoughts. She smiled and said, You are a poisonous snake, are you still afraid of poison? Qingju nodded in agreement. In fact, its snake venom was already very strong, so why are you afraid that the princess poisoned the Tianlingguo fruit again? Therefore, Shangju opened his mouth without hesitation. He immediately swallowed the Tianlingguo fruit into his stomach. Your tianlinguo fruit not quite the same as what I used to eat. In the past, it seemed more delicious. Lin Xin observed Qingju's expression from the beginning. As a result, tianlinguo, for a third-grade magical beast white wolf, it had a considerable seduction power. But for Qingju it seems no that seductive power apparently if she thinks of using the results tianlinguo came to attract higher-level magical beasts. Definitely won't work. Qingju, I heard that you used to snatch Feng Ruqing in the past. Feng Ruqing rolled her eyes and asked. Qingju was startled. He looked at Lin Xin with a cautious look, then instinctively slithered backwards. Feng Ruqing was her younger sister. Or is she? Seizing the opportunity, when Guo Sai was awake, come to think of a frog account it. Princess, this matter is not about me. The woman was virtuous. Enter the southern bamboo forest, still seizing the opportunity when Guo Sai was not at the wooden hut. Pai sneaks up to sleep on his bed. Come to think of it, Guo Sai's bed, only the princess could go up to sleep. When Guo Sai and I came back, I saw her lying on the bed. How could I not snatch her? Lin Xin had an expression of displeasure. This Feng Ruqing dared to go to sleep on the Guo Sai Kiao bed. What about the bed? Guo Sai is a very clean person, so he threw the whole bed. Both Feng Ruqing had left. Qingju smiled flatteringly. In fact, I already knew that next time, the princess would go to visit with Guo Sai, and that Guo Sai would be your manual. I will let how could another woman sleep in this bed? So I snatch her. Qingju's flattering made Lin Xin feel very satisfied. Her chubby face showed a smile. Little snake, you've been too harsh, but it's not bad. Next time, if anyone dares to approach Guo Sai, you snatch them if. Lin Xin smiled, his eyes full of cunning and wickedness. If I knew that you had betrayed me, I would have caught you and made a braised snake for father. Qingju trembled. It hastily replied that no way, Guo Sai didn't give up. Let strangers approach. From time immemorial it is impossible to have people another approached him. I've been following him for years. Haven't seen anyone yet come close to him. Guo Sai's attitude of not allowing strangers to approach was enough to scare people away. Needless to say, someone who would. Close to him it's impossible in this life. Really cute. Lin Xin had a smiling face. She felt like this snake. More and more really. Why was Guo Sai gone for so long this time? In the past, each month was just for days, wasn't it? I don't know either. Most of the time, my lord wouldn't let me accompany him, but you can rest assured. By the master's side there is no another woman, I can assure you of this. You must have slept with Guo Sai, of course. Chapter 63 Iron-Blood Armies Will 2. Qingju was afraid that Lin Xin had misunderstood. If she misunderstood, it might turn into a braised snake. Therefore, he hastened to explain. Lin Xin had a strange expression on his face. In fact, she didn't say anything yet. It's getting late, little serpent. I have to go back. Next time, I'll come and visit you. She got up and writhed lazily at the setting sun, her face full of smiles. Although her body was still plump and fat now, her personality wasn't the same as before. Qingju almost cried, begging you not to come to me again. A snake like me can't handle this kind of shock. It's really shocking. Little snake, I know you don't want me back. Trust me, tomorrow I will come to see you as usual. Lin Xin saw Qingju who was about to cry, and smiled and lightly patted his head as he spoke. Now that she had the Iron Blood plaque back in her hand, she should visit the Iron Blood army a bit. In order to prevent the people who had been following her mother for many years was too disappointed. Ever since the emperor's grandson died, the army of Iron Blood is not appear again. It was as if they were hiding in the royal palace, not interfering with the world. Even Feng Dianyu's orders they refused to comply. And because of the deep love Feng Dianyu had for Nolan Empress Hao, the fact that these people didn't listen to his orders, he compromised according to their will. At that moment, in the quiet garden, a number of plainly dressed women were struggling in the garden. At that time there was a woman. Seeing Lin Xin suddenly appeared in the garden, her hand trembled, unable to catch another woman's sword that had rushed in front of her. The sword then sliced through the edge of her sleeve. The hem of her shirt was torn off and it fell to the ground. Lin Xin stood at the door. Say hello with Ostrakiv come to interrupt your maneuvers, haven't I? At that moment, Everyone stopped moving. Then looked at Fang. Luxury? The woman whose sleeve had been ripped off smirked. Ridicule? Ever since the princess gave Rongji Yuifei the Iron Blood tag, she had never appeared here again. Unthinkable that today you will think of us who has been abandoned? Since the emperor's grandson died, they thought that if older women would take over leading them into battle. But what was found is that the princess gave them to other people. Her life was willing to be loyal to the frog's grandson, the emperor alone. When Nalanhong House passed away, they let his daughter, the emperor's grandson, took over only. Even if Nalan Empress had a son, they wouldn't accept orders. But the princess didn't understand. What does this mean? She handed the Iron Blood badge to someone else. Is equal to them, betraying Nalanhong Hour more. This life cannot go to war, just like before. Tangji, another woman standing beside, pulling at Tangji's hem, then turned to look at Lines in. Her voice was cold and distant. Princess Pika, you came to us. Is there something to order? Linzin rubbed his nose with his hand and walked into the Gardini. Don't have anything, I'm just here to visit you guys. Oh, that's right, blood, iron? I brought it back from Rongji Yuifei. Tangji was stunned. She hurriedly raised her head to look at Linzin. Iron blood plaque, she brought it back. True, I didn't know before. I've done so many wrong things. I know I've caused you all sorrow and disappointment. But I'll use the rest of my time to make up for it. Give them to you. I will make you go to war again. For the whole world know that women are not inferior to men. I will make you shine and have performance of the battle more than ever. Chapter 64 Iron Blood Armies Will 3. Linzin at that time was determined to give Rongji Fei the Iron Blood plaque. On that day, everyone in the Iron Blood army knelt in front of the door of her palace to establish the Iron Blood Kingdom for Linzin to listen to. I hope she takes the sign Iron Blood returns. But Linzin only spoke words that made the soldiers in the army feel disappointed. She said that she was a master, and that they were servants, since they were the things that the queen had left behind. She wanted to give them away. Anyone can, no one has the right to interfere. She spoke as if a person. These were no different from magical beasts that could be given to anyone. Since then, no one from the Iron Blood army has come to beg her at all, because those people were extremely disappointed. Restore faith. Helpless, Tangji clenched his fists tightly. That day, they begged Linzin very hard, but she refused to take back the Iron Blood badge. Why now choose to bring it back, or is it because of many years coming here, they didn't care about Rongji Yuifei? Rong Kuifei then asked hard to persuade them. However, the Iron Blood army was different from other armies. The command label is in whose hands must listen to that person's orders. But they relied on His Majesty's will, choosing to do as he wished. For many years, he did not bring up Rongji Yuifei. But Rongji Yuifei was afraid of the might of the army, and even now did not dare to face the models face to face. Did Rongji Yuifei send you to come? Tangji laughed. Other than Rongji Yuifei, who else can summon you? Even if you raise the blood sign, Iron, let her go. We will never listen to her orders. Tell her to cut your heart. Lines inside. This was the same princess who had left the scars inside. How much do you have in mind? So she spoke straightforwardly. No one would believe her at all. I know you won't be able to trust me in a short amount of time, but you can trust me. I will rely on my abilities to make them. You came back to obey me. I will never use my father's power. If Linzin really wanted, was able to tell Feng Dianyu. Feng Dianyu's words, these people would probably listen. But they didn't trust Linzin enough. If using force methods, it's not that they are willing to help her. What she needs is her heart. Of these people that cross this day, I haven't attached any souvenirs. There is only a little bit of fruit, but unfortunately the amount is not much. So I use my magic power to make they become water. But this juice, she added more water. Because there are many people in the army, if not dissolved, dilute. Jang wouldn't be enough to distribute, and even if it was diluted, each one drank just one gulp of each person. Thankfully, the Tianling Guo she planted had strong magical powers. Gongyang has the effect of relieving fatigue only. See the result not as fast as eating the fruit directly. Tangji's group watched as Linzin put down the 2 juice cans and remained silent. Everyone couldn't understand what the princess was thinking today and was kind enough to give them some fruit juice. I won't disturb your training. You summoned the rest of the army to bring this fruit. I went to buy it from the magic pharmacy for you. Level 1 Tianlinguo. Even though it was the first level pill that was the easiest to cultivate, but because magical beasts like to eat Tianlinguo, there weren't many Tianlinguo on this continent. Otherwise, General Nolan probably wouldn't be this excited. Other elixirs could also be purchased from the elixirs. Of course, Lin Xin had no way of telling them about these matters. Even if Tianlinguo was rare, it wasn't that it didn't exist. She said that she bought it from a pharmacy and there was no problem. Chapter 65 Her Change 1. Tang Ji closed his mouth. She stared at Lin Xin without speaking. Lin Xin shrugged his shoulders. She knew how unacceptable she was, so she put the teapot down and walked away. Even if she walks until she is out of sight, Tang Ji did not even call her. Not to stay. Tang Ji, this Tianlinguo juice, is it real? The purple-clothed woman mumbled for a moment. At that time, General Nalan was about to lead his army into battle. Instead, she brought a cup of tea for the general to say goodbye. Delaying the movement of troops. She has done a lot of bad things. So much so that no matter what she did, no one would trust her again. But in the end, Tang Ji decided to lift the kettle and pour the juice over. While others going to stop her, she raised the bowl down until it's all gone. I want to cut my heart and let it go. Tang Ji wiped the juice from the corner of his mouth, chuckling, the irony of life. The whole garden is peaceful. No one uttered a word. In fact, everyone knew that Tang Ji still had hope for the princess. Even though her mouth said that she was disappointed, but in her heart still, I hope the princess can change herself. A long time has passed. The diarrhea that they had expected had yet to come. Tang Ji's expression originally looked tired. But after drinking the Tianlinguo water, it gradually became fresh again. Tang Ji, do you have any symptoms? The purple-robed woman looked at Tang Ji and asked curiously. Tang Ji's gaze fell on the teapot that lay on the stone table. After a while, she raised her head and slowly spoke. This Tianlinguo is real. Originally, she thought Lin Xin would do the same thing as teasing the general. Nalan put something in the water. She herself had prepared herself, but did not think when drinking fruit juice the power that had been exhausted from training at first would gradually be restored. Lingyan, you went after the others in the army. Tang Ji stared at the direction Lin Xin had walked away with confused eyes. This time, she really came to bring Tianlinguo water? Did that, wanting to tease them? Or come, persuading them to surrender their allegiance to Ron K. Fei. Regarding what the Tangxis would think, Lin Xin had no way of predicting. She had originally planned to visit Feng Dianyu. But as soon as she reached the writing room, she heard Feng Dianyu discussing affairs with the Grand Duchess, so she didn't disturb him. Quietly walked back, capital city at night, quiet and peaceful everywhere, but at that time there was a messy magic power emanating from small alley next door. Lin Xin stopped following her instincts. She stroked her chin. Looks like someone who thinks they are going to have something fun to watch. Is someone insane? SHHHH, there's something good to watch now. If it's somewhere else, she probably wouldn't pry. But here is the region, Liuyan, the land of her father's emperor. So she wanted to press a tattoo. Who's practicing penance until it's crazy like that? If there was a negative effect on the people of Liuyun County, it would be bad. Lin Xin turned into a small alley. At the end of the alley was an abandoned house. And the messy magic power spread come out of that house. She walked to the front of the abandoned house. Opening the door to go inside, what he saw was a garden full of overgrown grass. In the garden sat a beggar-like young man sitting upright. The young man's hair was messy. His clothes were tattered, and his face had vertical scars. Both cheeks looked dirty, as if he hadn't washed his face for a long time. Chapter 66 Her Transformation 2. But this dusty face caught Lin Xin's eyes. Ho! A roar sounded from the young man's throat. His power shot out and exploded in the air. Overgrown, the surrounding grass was eliminated until it was level. Then, the young man's body fell backwards, hitting the floor with a loud thud. At that moment, Linsin's expression changed. Her face turned white, her eyes filled with terror, her body rushed uncontrollably towards the young manual. Her hand was trembling at this moment. Carrying a beggar young man, she got up and walked out of the garden. In a secret place, two experts from the palace looked at each other. His eyes were filled with astonishment. The princess wouldn't, like that young man, would she, a chance to deal with when he's unconscious? Dark guard number 1 was silent for a moment before asking, "This? Should we go and tell His Majesty about it?" "Say to His Highness?" "How to say? To say that the princess took did the young man go and act as a concubine? But if they know about it and do not speak in the future, if His Highness found out, they would be punished even more severely." Dark guard number 2 gave a hint of a look and said, "You followed the princess custody. As for me, I will go and pay respects to His Highness." In Liuyun County ever since time immemorial, Linsin has been known as the #1 fat person even in the past. She rarely went out of the palace, but everyone knew her appearance. Because of this, after Linsin carried the young man back to the princess mansion, the news especially spread throughout Liuyun County. The young man who had lost consciousness soon became known all over the place. Everyone was saying that Linsin liked that young manual and ordered someone to hit him. Passed out and taken to the princess residence, therefore, what she originally had was a bad image, now it was even worse. In the Princess Liuli and Qingling looked at Linsin holding a manual. The young men entered the room confused. They were so shocked that they couldn't say anything at all. "Princess, bring the men back with you." And also brought into the room. She wanted to sleep with Guo Sai, didn't she? Or that Guo Su was collected? The tale is hard to catch. The princess was annoyed and hit a man on the head anywhere. "And bring it back." "No, I have to stop the princess." Qingling was almost impatient. "Cried, the princess had already liked Li Yukan enough. Here, go take a man. Where did you come from? How could you be worthy of a princess?" She didn't want to see the princess' life ruined by a bad temper. Whistle, seeing Qingling about to rush into the room, Liuli hurriedly grabbed the manual. Qingling's coat of arms then said, "The princess is no longer the original princess. I believe she has changed. Let's put this together. Wait and see. If we hear the man's cry for help, then we can stop the princess." A lazy wind blows through mosquitoed at Linsin's gaze was fixed on the young man lying on the ground. Bed. She couldn't help but stretch out her hand to caress his face. Gently, very similar, the face, the eyes, very similar to Chair. "Chair, is it you?" Suddenly, the young man lying on the bed opened his eyes clear. It was an eye that she had never seen before. Linsin finally came to her senses. She blinked her eyes. He's not Chairni. Even if the faces look similar, but she looked at the eyes. This man was not her brother Feng Jianche. "Who are you?" the young man asked in a clear voice, looking at Feng Ruqing with clear eyes. "Feng Ruqing Yui's my name is Linsin." Her eyes were still on the young man's face. What made her feel regretful was that when he heard her name, there was no expression of excitement whatsoever. Those eyes were still clear and unadulterated. Chapter 67 Her Transformation 3. The young man lightly licked his lips. "And where is this place? Why am I here?" Linsin glanced at the young man. "This is my mansion. I met you on the way and carried me back with you. If I'm not mistaken, unexpected events occurred on your body. If you force yourself to practice penance too much, you will surely end up like a madman." The young man was stunned. He looked at Linsin with a surprised look. It could be seen that he was pondering why she knew about this. "If?" Feng Ruqing Yum then said in a serious voice. "Surrender to my mansion, I might be able to help you." In the end, she couldn't resist letting the young man stay. Owner, at Waxia, Cher was her only relative. Her elder sister had been taking care of him for many years. Now she's here. She and her brother would never see each other again, so selfishly she wanted him to stay, even if only to see his face. She still felt that Cher was nearby. But if he does not agree, she didn't resist. The young man was stunned. He looked at Linsin puzzled. "You're not afraid? Really? At all?" Since he left the family, nobody wanted to get close to him. People were afraid of him, especially those who know the power from the body. All of them were afraid that they would be lost as well. Why? This woman wants he to stay here. I'm not afraid of you, I have no way to help you. Lion Sin walked in. Come to the young man slowly, I have seen it. That my manner lacks people. You, stay here and help me watch over the princess' residence. I will help you solve the matter. Your own body? A moment later, Lion Sin heard Fu Ken's spirit. He told her that there was a solution to the problem with young man's body. For young men, this was both a disadvantage and an advantage. Until now, Lion Sin had only realized that what she did, all of those two little ones were watching over them. Lion Sin saw that the young man didn't answer. So he walked in and stood in front of him. Soft magic power radiating out from all around her. This magic power was extremely faint. Shows that this girl has ability power is not high, but when you feel the warmth and power that in superpower, the young man could clearly feel that his own body had improved. That feeling of being free from the coffin is something he is not. I've been touched for many years. The young man's eyes were confused. Several years ago, a wandering monk had told him that if traveling to the east will meet the destined patron, therefore, he came to Liyun County. As for that patron, or is it she? Yes, I will stay. After all, he had nothing to lose, only his life. Let's take a look. What's going on? If there is no way to solve the problem caused by the body, then how can he take revenge? Lion Sin smiled with satisfaction. She turned back and opened the door. As she opened the door, the people who came to stand stealthily almost headed in. Fortunately, they were able to settle in time. So he stood and looked at Feng Ru. Qing was shocked at the door. Lion Sin had an expression of displeasure. What are you guys doing? Qingling laughed. Servants and Liu Li were waiting for an order from Princess Pika. Then go prepare some water for him to bathe in. Help him with take a shower and wash your face. From now on, he belongs to our princess house. Qingling and Liu Li had shocked expressions. He's the person of Princess San. The person of one princess? Princess, have you forgotten about your intention to sleep with Guo Sai? Princess, you can't give up. Chapter 68. The young man named Qin Chen 1. Lion Sin's expression did not accept merit. She looked at Qingling with hard eyes. Qingling, are you thinking too much? Who told you that I will give up on sleeping with Guo Sai? Sleeping with Guo Sai was a dream. Great, in my life I have absolutely no way of giving up. Qingling bent his mouth, not daring to say anything further. The princess takes the young man, a stranger from nowhere. How could she not think too much? Lion Sin finished speaking and didn't say anything more. The lady gave the milkmaid to the maid. The two then walked out of the room. Even the magic potions on the mountain near the end of the mountain are guarded by magical creatures. But there was no guarantee that the white wolf would not steal it, so Lion Sin had to go for a walk on the mountainside from time to time to prevent problems that other magical beasts had. Take the spoiled white wolf, that's not there. Fortunately, the white wolf still listened to her. Did not touch the magic potion. They seemed to know that if he dared to arbitrarily touch the magic pill, there might be more wolf meat soup tomorrow. The morning of the following day, the sun shines covered all over the land. When Lion Sin opened the door, the sun shines and shines came in and landed on her plump body. Suddenly, her eyes were stunned. When looking up to see a young man under the willow tree, young man in clean white clothes, graceful face, flawless skin, purer than white paper, as if there had never been any blemishes, that had transcended and became so clean that people did not dare to think of wickedness. Seeing the look in Lion Sin's eyes, the young man's expression looked nervous, as if he didn't like being stared at like that. Are you awake? His voice was the same as his face. Beautiful and clear, making it difficult for those who hear to forget. Feng Ru Qinghan replied lightly. The young man, who washed his face and combed his hair neatly, looked more like a chair, but she knew very well that this young man, after all, was not him. Do you have something for me to do? The young man looked at Lion Sin with clear eyes. I don't want to spend a day here doing nothing. What can you do? I can't do anything. The young man speaks with his mouth full. Feng Ru Qinghan, you can't do anything. Why not then? Why do you ask? She was silent for a moment before saying, next, you follow. Can you protect me? Although the young man's body was unexpectedly happening right now, making him unable to continue practicing penance, but Lion Sin sensed that the force his abilities are no less. catching up with the opportunity that now misses. There is still no bodyguard waiting to follow the time to go outside. As for Liuli and Qingling, those two maids might be the girl who must guard. Can? The young man pursed his lips and spoke clearly. Really? What do you like? Lin Xin raised his eyebrows and asked. The young man looked at Lin Xin. Qin Chen, my name is Qin Chen. The surname Qin was the ubiquitous surname Dong, from his name, Feng Ru. Qin could not guess the position of this young manual. But Lin Xin stroked his chin, looked at Qin Chen with a smile. Your condition after bathing and dressing is fine. Don't act next like another beggar, you have perfect hands and feet. Why dress like that? The young man had a straight face, his head bowed. I like that better, even though his face was scarred, but when he came out of the house, there were many men and women who wanted to possess him. Therefore, went a long time ago to protect yourself, so he was used to dress up like a beggar, but I like you in this clean state. Lin Xin lightly rubbed his chin with his hand, eyes covered with a smile. Chapter 69. The young man named Qin Chen too. Bright face resembling a light frog, I don't know why, shining light into the young man's heart. If you like. The young man's pure eyes looked at him. Lin Xin again will continue to be like this. Feng Ruqing, her eyes were blurry. Think back when once in the original form, the time when she and Chair depended on each other. In fact, Chair used to have a clear smile. Like this too, but for Lin Xin he forced himself to become a big businessman who didn't interested in anyone's feelings. There was only time with her. He's going to show off his childhood. He suddenly, you like, I'm happy to be the way you want. I just want her to like, he'd trade everything for his smile. Mrs. Even the rehabilitation center Chair had built it for her to build. Only one friend, but in the end, she left him. A world without her, how lonely would Chair be? Lin Xin bowed and smiled. Chenner, in this life, His Highness Mother doesn't have an older brother. Sister-in-law for me, in fact. I was lonely. When I saw you, I feel like we could have been brothers in our past life. Next, Lin Xin paused for a moment. She raised her hand and slapped it down, lightly on Qin Chen's shoulder. You are my brother, Lin Xin. If you have no place to go, my princess residence is your home. Qin Chen's heart suddenly trembled. Home? These words. How long has it been since he hadn't heard them? All these years, all the people he had met had pure intentions, only she had made him feel warm. Qin Chen lowered his head. He didn't understand, even though this girl only knew him yesterday. Why was it so nice to him? Or is there an ulterior motive? When thinking up to this point, Qin Chen laughed to himself. He now has what can allow other people to take advantage of the benefits again. Maybe it's possible that in their previous life they were really brothers, so she was good to him too. Altruism. Can you cook? Lin Xin rubbed her stomach, groaning. The sky has just dawned. She was already hungry. Qin Chen lightly nodded. I pretended to be a little bit. It might not be right with your mouth. It's all right. You went to make some breakfast, a light meal. That's enough, can? Qin Chen obediently responded and turned and walked towards the kitchen. In the dining room, Lin Xin was waiting for Qin Chen not long after. A young man in a peasant costume walks through the door in the sunlight. He was holding hot porridge, with a bowl of steaming steam, plus the fragrance of kui flowers. Such a familiar scent this made Lin Xin stunned, both of her hands clenched tightly. A regular breathing, until the rice porridge was placed in front of her. She slowly regained her composure, taking a small bite of the rice porridge to taste. Chenner, have you ever heard of Huisha? Lin Xin raised his head, his gaze fixed on Qin Chen. Qin Chen's eyes showed doubt. Huisha? What is a party? Lin Xin lowered his head, showing a slight disappointment. Probably similar by chance. When I was young, she can't eat enough chair, then went and stole it. A handful of rice. He was afraid that she would think that the white rice porridge was too bland. So he plucked the blossoms. You all boiled it with boiled rice. Later, when in the rehabilitating center, no matter how busy Chair was, he would boil rice porridge for her every day. But in the end, he wasn't Chair. It's just a coincidence. Nothing. Lin Xin smiled and shook his head. Next, can you boil rice porridge for me every day? Qin Chen nodded his head. Can? Chapter 70. Liu you can steal her asked one. I magic pill to lose weight, can't drink every day. Must be accepted for 5 days, second drink. Even like this, her figure gradually became thinner. It was a pity that the old princess was too fat. If you want to lose weight down to the normal level, it wouldn't take a period of just 2 days. In order not to look abnormally thin, fast Lion pretended to run around South Road several times a day, and those who saw her were shocked as if they had seen a ghost. Liuyun County's #1 fat man start losing weight. Already or here. I don't know if the world is round or not. Today, while Lion ran after the morning, he was about to go home. Pushed to meet Liu Yukin and Tan Shuang's Huan walked hand in hand. Lately, Liu Yukin was trapped in the Liu family house and just managed to come out. Because of this, he was unaware of what had happened on North Road South over the past several days. Therefore, when he saw Lion running over, he was stunned for a moment, and then a look of contempt appeared in his eyes. Princess, you made it clear that you were going to divorce me, and I thought that you would really set me free. Didn't think that you were still the same, did everything you could to see me. But Rima Fengruqing refused to leave even a single step, every time he left the imperial palace to have a chance to meet with him. This time it must have been the case. Tan Shuang's Huang froze. Instinctively, she held Liu Yukin's hand tightly, her eyes filled with fear. Liu Yukin saw the terrified Tan Shuang's Huang, in his heart even more furious. Severe mental trauma. But Lion just ran past Liu Yukin. She didn't even stop running for a single stroke. Her gaze didn't even stop looking at Liu Yukin. Like a man standing on the road underneath was just a stranger who wasn't even worth mentioning. Liu Yukin's beautiful face shattered. He turned his gaze back to Feng Ru. Qing with eyes of rage. Qing, not far away, a young man dressed in white as snow stood at the head of the road. He looked as clean as snow, even though his face is scarred, but that didn't diminish his dignity. Seeing the woman running towards him, he smiled slightly. That smile was so pure that no one dares to think evil. Shenner, let's go home. Lion smiled slightly. Now it's time to take out the magic liquor. From the basement in the end, she had a gift to pass the stick on her hand for the person who knew the commander for a while. Princess. Liu Yukin was even more furious. The same Lion only had his eyes fixed on him, but now, even though the walking young man stood in front of him, she couldn't see him in the eyes. Lion froze. She turned around and looked at Liu Yukin. From head to toe in a stern manner. Liu Yukin, people like you are truly shameless. What do you say? What I say, how can you not hear? Lion sneered, smiling contemptuously. To meet with me you diligently walked to the road where I used to run in the morning. Why? Was I told you that I was divorced and couldn't accept it? Or how? I can't help that I'm an independent person. Like Matong bonding from birth, you cut your heart. Sir, Liu Yukin's fury was almost unbearable. If you weren't worried about Lion's position, then by now, he'd probably blow it out. This Lion instead spoke to him what he had to say a moment ago, gone like that. Did he find trouble with Lion? This is clearly a joke, something like this, only she can do it. The onlookers were all around. I don't know since when those people didn't dare to come near. For fear of making this rogue princess was not pleased.
Desire to listen to good novel? Don't forget to subscribe.